Hey, good morning, y'all. Today we are we're in the thick of it with garden harvest and preservation. So it's a time of year where we really look forward to because we've got fresh food coming in, and it's also a time that we dread because it's a lot of work. We just don't have enough hours in the day. Sometimes it seems like both of us working full time. We come in at the end of the day and head to the garden to pick and then start preserving. So it's a season in life. We know that it's not always going to be this busy, so it's something that we know we're going to have to do each year. But it makes it worthwhile the rest of the year to have the food in the pantry and food in the freezer. So it can be a little overwhelming, I'm not going to lie. Luckily, Patrick's right in there with me, growing, harvesting, picking, and preserving. So it makes it doable. Today we are kind of winding down our corn crop. We did a couple of different varieties of sweet corn this year. We did bodacious, which is good, and we also did incredible. So incredible is very good. It's sweet. So when you taste the bodacious by itself, you think, oh, this is really good. And then if you do a comparison to the incredible is definitely sweeter. So like I said, we're winding down our corn harvest and corn preservation this year. So some of these ears are second pickings. The first ears we've already picked and put up and put in the freezer. So these ears are not quite as pretty as the first ears, but there's still plenty of good useful corn on it. So we're using this little corn cutter offer thingamajiggy. The first couple of cookings we did of the sweet corn, we left the little creaming blade on there. Let me see if I can find that. Okay. Yeah, this little creaming blade fits down on the corn cutter, and that'll make you some cream corn, which is good. Honestly, we didn't realize this came off until after we'd done the first cooking of corn. So we're going to do the next couple cookings without the creamer, and it's going to make a more whole kernel corn. It's not going to be as soupy and not as creamy. So it works really well to have a glove on because that kind of helps catch the corn cob. So we've already washed this off. After we bring it in, we wash it off in the sink and just to clean it off, and then we just start cutting it off. So I can't tell you, there's corn everywhere in this kitchen. All over the fridge, all over the windows. I just kind of have to walk by and ignore it right now because there's no sense, it gets all on your face. There's no sense in me, washing it all down every day because I'm going to be putting up some more corn tomorrow. So, all the surfaces are clean, but goodness gracious, my cabinets, my windows, my refrigerator, anything that's, within 10 feet of this kitchen has probably got specks of corn on it. Oops, goodness gracious. I'm gonna finish cutting this up and then I'm gonna blanch it for a minute or so, which basically just means boil it. You have to stir it the whole time while it's boiling or you'll stick. And it'll burn because there's a lot of sugar content in this sweet corn. So anyway, I'm gonna finish cutting this corn off and then I'll show y'all how to blanch it. The last step to the process is cooling it down to be able to bag it and put it in the deep freeze. So you cannot put blanched corn in the freezer bag and put it in the freezer when it's warm because it may sour before the freezer can actually bring it down to a cool temperature and freeze it. So you have to take some time to cool the temperature down of the corn before you put it in baggies. So you can either freeze Coke bottles of ice and then put the Coke bottles of ice down in the blanched corn so it'll cool off. There are a few little purple kernels of corn in there because of the cross-pollination from the other corn that Pat planted. So, all right, so I'm gonna let this, you can see it's kind of bubbling a little bit. I'm gonna let that bubble for a minute or so. This corn is actually cooled down to room temperature, maybe a little bit cooler than room temperature. So now it's actually ready for me to bag and get it ready to put in the freezer. So do not skimp on your freezer bags when it comes time to food preservation. It's not the time to be buying no name brand bags. You want some good quality bags that are going to preserve your harvest. So this is a little trick to keep the corn from getting all over the sides of the zippers when you're putting the corn in. your bag. So usually this is this cup's maybe 1.5 cups, 2 cups. This is a pretty good serving size for us. So just kind of shake it down in there, and it helps. Voila! No corn on the zipper. So, if we still had kids at home, I would put more in each bag, but we're putting this up for us too, and also for my kids to be able to take home with them and eat. So, we just lay it down flat. So, I always put the date on it so you'll know when you put it up, so you can eat your oldest stuff first. So, okay. So this year I realized, you know, in the past I've always just kind of laid the corn out in the freezer just flat, just to make it neater and take up less space in the freezer. But this year, let me turn it that way, I think that'll work better. This year I realized using this cookie sheet is the perfect way to freeze corn. You can lay it out flat, and it won't, you know, every now and then when you put cream corn in the freezer, it'll seep down through the little shells and then get stuck in there, and then it's a mess. It's hard to get out. So this works great. Now, best technique is to just do 1 layer of corn. At most I would do is 2 layers. You don't want thick layers of corn. So, and this is how it turns out. This is all frozen, so it's easy to keep in the freezer. It doesn't take up much space. It doesn't seep down through the grates of the freezer shells, and it's quick to thaw out and eat. So I love this little technique. You could also put it in, you could do 1 or 2 layers in casserole dishes, which is what I'm gonna do if you've got room. But you want to lay it out flat. You don't want a big pile of corn. It'll take too long to freeze. So, but this works really well. So now that I'm finished putting the corn up, I'm finished with the corn today, we have to move on to peas. So praise the Lord that the peas and the corn were not coming in at the same time this year. Usually they do. Usually it's a struggle to keep up, and it's always going to be a little bit of a struggle, but that's the beauty of harvesting. That's the beauty of gardening and growing your food. So this is an exhausting time of the year, but it's so worth it. It's worth it to be able to know what you're eating. It's worth it for me to be able to give my kids food that I know what they're eating. So I'm gonna go put these in the freezer and let them freeze solid, and then I'll get them off of the cookie sheets and stack them neatly in the freezer. So, all right, gotta go, y'all. Gotta go pick some peas. Y'all have a good one, and go grow you something to eat. See ya.